how I made 25 million selling online courses, and what I would do if I had to start over. One of the things I hope you really take away from today's video is that you do not need a massive audience to be extremely successful with your online course. I went from having 0 followers, 0 email list, and not talking about what my program was to my personal audience at all until I launched, and I became a millionaire the very first year I launched my program. And I do not say this to brag. In fact, it has taken me a long time to get to a place where I'm as comfortable as I am talking about money. In fact, I talk about it because it's so important for us to have different paths to follow in today's world. There are so many different ways that you can be making money, and I just hope that you find one that works perfectly for you, so that you are no longer surviving and you are thriving. There has never been an easier time to make great money in today's world. Quite frankly, it's not even the money that's exciting. It's all the freedom that comes with creating an online course. It's the location independence. It's the ability to work when you want to work. It's the ability to set your own schedule. It's the ability to not have to work full-time hours. I, right now, am working about 3 to 4 hours a day. I have absolutely had seasons of hustle, but right now I have a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old, and I want to spend as much time as I can with them. So with the right program and the right transformation and a good paid ad strategy, you do not have to spend your hours grinding away, being at the mercy of the content machine and all the crazy algorithms and all their changes. Instead, I used paid ads, Instagram and Facebook ads, and that gave me a shortcut to really refining every step along the way so that I could properly scale. This also meant I didn't have to post every day online. That is something that I have had a lot of resistance to. In fact, it's one of the reasons I love YouTube Organic, because I like long form content, I like digging deep, and I have a really hard time with all the short form content that's on social media. I also have a hard time having to be on there all the time and posting constantly. So if that sounds like you are in the right place, and I want to talk about how you can also make this work. And I also want to talk about how I would do it now if I was starting from scratch. That way you can learn from my mistakes and my missteps and hopefully avoid them. Okay, so let's talk about as if I were starting from 0, which is where I started. And quite frankly, it's where everybody starts. Everybody has to start from 0. That's just what starting means. So I had no email list. I had no followers on social media besides like my mom and a few college friends. And I just had a course idea. That was really it. The funny thing is it's about copywriting, but I did not want to become known as that copywriter girl. I had no interest in building a personal brand, like 0. I still have 0 interest in building a personal brand. That is not my primary motivation for creating the things that I create. My primary motivation is having a genuine impact and then creating more freedom in my life so that I can live my days exactly as I want to live them. I don't really care to make tens of millions of dollars, truly, but I do see that money is an important tool that gives you a lot of the freedom, and that is truly what I'm after. So because of all of this, I didn't want to create an audience for my program. Not really. I wanted to do the bare minimum. So what I did was I had a beta test, and for me, my beta test was just 2 people. I walked people through the process of what I thought would help them go from not knowing what copywriting was to becoming a freelance copywriter, and both of them quit their jobs within 3 months. It was kind of mind-blowing. I was like, wow, I should put this in a course. And I had that idea, that's why I was doing the beta test, but it was really the kick in the butt that I needed. In fact, those 2 women were like, you have to put this in a course. And at the time, and quite frankly, I still do think this now, I felt like the online course creation world was just a little cliche, and it wasn't something I really wanted to be a part of. But my desire to help people change their lives through freelancing and becoming their own boss was way bigger than worrying about how silly or cliche I looked. So after that beta test, I got to building my MVP, my minimum viable product. It was about 10 lessons. I had a little free Facebook community. I showed up weekly and answered people's questions live. It was one of the most nerve-wracking things I have ever done, but I've grown so much from it because it was scary to me. Like, what if they ask a question I didn't know the answer to? But it turns out I knew the answers and still do to most of those questions. I think in 7 years, I've only had to look up the answer to like one thing. And so that was really reassuring and very confidence building. And then I did my first launch. And in that launch, I did announce the opening of my program on my social media. And I was shocked that a few people signed up who knew me. And it was interesting. It was because they saw that I was traveling all the time. And they thought, okay, I want to do whatever she's doing if it's going to allow me to travel all the time. And I ran ads to my free lead magnet, which was a masterclass, sometimes also called a VSL or a video sales letter. It can also be called a webinar or workshop, but basically it was something that was gonna walk people through what that process looked like and gave them a ton of value for free. And because they gave me their email address in exchange for this lead magnet, I then was able to email them to nurture them for a few days leading up until when I would close the launch period. And if they decided they wanted to learn more, they could click on the sales page. And the sales page was the very last thing they read before clicking purchase. Now, let's talk about what made this work. One, I had a high converting sales page that was written by a copywriter. That's me. In today's world, there is a lot you can do to be able to learn how to write your own sales page really well. I also had a really simple funnel. I really think people tend to overcomplicate things, and that can make it stressful and overwhelming. It was just a lead magnet, a few emails, and a sales page. That's it. The other thing that I did was I was constantly testing new ad creatives. And all that really means is that I was thinking of different angles, different ways of saying things, and finding out what was really resonating with people. Some of the things I discovered in this process is that my messaging really spoke to people in the healthcare industry and in the teaching industry. By and large, because they had a certain level of education, but also they were people who were feeling really underappreciated and underpaid at work. And a lot of them wanted more time with their families, which they were not getting in their current careers. And the thing I love about ads is I didn't have to come up with daily content, which is so exhausting for me. Instead, I would come up with a few ad creatives. We would run them for about a month, and then they would get exhausted, and we would have to come up with a few new ones. But for me, that was so much more manageable than having to come up with a daily trend. The other thing that's really powerful about ads is that you get a good volume through your funnel, which allows you to look at the numbers and optimize. Now, when you go and you look at your opt-in page, for example, you want to see how many people who are visiting that page versus how many people are actually opting in. And you want that conversion rate to be a minimum of 20%. My conversion rates are typically around 40 to 50%. And then you have your numbers for your emails. So your emails, you typically want a minimum of a 20% open rate, a 1 to 2% click rate, although higher is always better. And you will have about a 1% unsubscribe rate, and that is totally okay. Then you have your sales page, again, minimum 20%. My numbers are usually closer to 40%. And then the whole funnel, especially when you're doing it with cold traffic, i.e. ads, rather than organic traffic, is usually only around 1 to 2%. So you really need that volume in order to get the sales that you're looking for, but ads really helps you with that. So yes, this process costs money. You have to set some money aside in order to run paid ads. My first launch, I put $4,000 into it, which sounds like a lot, but I collected over $5,000 in revenue, and then revenue earned, because I had payment plans, I collected $15,000. So it was a no-brainer for me. And that is the method that I kept using and growing and refining my funnel all along the way. So to me, paying for ads is a great way to invest in people's attention rather than chasing it with Instagram Reels, for example. Again, nothing wrong with some of the organic methods. I definitely use those as well, but I think it's healthy to have a little bit of both. So if I were to start today, I would want to get some volume through my funnel so that I could refine the numbers all along the way, and I would be able to test things much more quickly. So I would run a launch. It would have an open cart period and a closed cart period, so I wasn't always having to focus on marketing and lead generation. I would create Facebook and Instagram ads. I would make sure that I was checking my funnel numbers all along the way to refine them. And once I've really nailed down my messaging, I would continue to scale, taking the money earned from previous launches and investing it back into ads And then, of course, working on some organic methods like maybe YouTube Organic. That's my personal favorite in order to kind of bolster everything else. So, what are the biggest takeaways after generating over 25 million in online course sales? First, it's that great messaging beats a big following. You do not need a huge audience in order to be extremely successful. Two, paid ads are a shortcut to scaling. When done right, you can get numbers into your funnel, test and refine, and have even better numbers the next time. And three, you do not need to burn out to build big. I have seen so many people in this industry have huge numbers, but I look at a day in the life of, and I think, that is not the life I want. I did not become an entrepreneur to work more than 40 hours a week. I am not about hustling. I'm about having a really full life where I can spend good quality time with my babies. We just got some chickens. I've started baking sourdough bread. And those are the things that I want to spend my time doing. Cooking good meals for my family, being there for friends and family, having game nights, trying to convince my husband to get sheep. This is where my motivation lies in becoming an entrepreneur. So if you are a course creator and you would like to do this without having to build a huge audience or a personal brand, I have put together the best resource for you. My program, Coursia Collective, is truly the best thing on the market for course creators. I am not exaggerating. I know when you get in there, your mind will be absolutely blown. It includes a proprietary AI tool, which is not ChatGPT, but instead something that is informed on over a decade's worth of experience. It will cut down on 80% of the time it takes you to do every element of your business. So you're going to get massive time back. I just had a student say to me that this would have saved her over a year and a half's worth of work if she had found it sooner. So don't let that be you. Check it out now. It also includes weekly calls with me and my team, and this is a rarity in the industry. You will actually be able to get feedback from me directly. And that's because I'm an in the trenches kind of mentor. I love working with people on their businesses, problem solving, figuring things out, and getting you to that next level. You'll also get access to a course which will take you from A to Z, from not knowing anything to having a scalable business so you can get to 6 figures, 7 figures, or 8 figures. And of course, you'll have access to our wonderful community, which continues to be one of the things that people are most excited about in my programs, because in there, you're gonna find your new best friend. My students have met up all over the world, all over the country. They have built businesses together. They have been in each other's weddings. They have moved in together and become roommates. Truly, we have such a group of wonderful, wonderful souls, and I know you're gonna love it. So if you're interested in Coursia Collective, I've left details in the description below. And of course, if this was helpful, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe. And I love hearing from you guys in the comments. So please, let me know if you have any questions at all. Thanks, guys.